I'm gonna get straight to the point here. I freaking love this movie. The first two movies were great, but I feel like this movie is the best Sonic movie and also the best video game movie adaptation ever. I didn't do review videos for the past two movies, but I really did like the first two. I was never as big of a Sonic fan as I am a Mario fan, but Sonic was part of my childhood. Even though I didn't know a lot about the lore between the characters, so my own culture itself came into this movie series not really catching many of the slick references in each movie as opposed to the Mario movie when it came out, but I did some homework in between the time from Sonic 2 and Sonic 3's release and learned a lot from the lore. I remember hearing Live and Learn for the first time in like almost 8 years or earlier last year. And I was just listening to it like, wait, this was the song I was overhearing that one time? It's so good. But yeah, so I wanted to review this whole movie and there will be spoilers ahead. So if you haven't seen it yet, here's your warning. Or maybe not. You've probably watched the movie on the day it came out, unlike me. So the movie goes in the sequential order that I predicted. It starts with the prison that Shadow breaks out of, completely one-shotting everyone there. When I first heard that the movie was going to be an hour and 50 minutes, I was really hoping that the movie would focus more on Shadow and his backstory than something like a random wedding like in the second movie. I mean, the second movie's runtime was 2 hours long, so the movie had time for that, and that one dance scene. I just didn't care for those parts of the plot at all. Now, one thing I did like about this movie was that unlike the first two films, it actually did just that. I feel like it used its time wisely. I feel the movie focused more on just Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow and the Robotniks here than the other human characters. Though I feel like the movie did focus more on the Robotniks, especially Gerald, than even Shadow at times. That one dance scene was funny though. Wade was only in one scene in the movie, which was great. He already had enough screen time in a show that wasn't even his. Anyway, Shadow literally solos Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles when they drop to Tokyo, and they make that small reference to the Shadow the Hedgehog game intro. I kind of wish some sort of cinematic riff of Shadow's theme played during one of these parts. During that whole scene, Sonic and Shadow were going back and forth saying like, hey, why do you look like me? I don't look like you, you look like me. Why do you look like me? I feel like this was a missed opportunity to say something like, yeah, I'll be asking the questions, fake Hedgehog. I also like how at the beginning of the scene, when they jumped out of the gun helicopter, Sonic said the line he said at the beginning of the Sonic Adventure 2 game, which is literally what this entire movie is based on apparently. There were some obvious major differences and other missed opportunities for this movie other than the fake Hedgehog line. One of the differences is Maria doesn't get shot in this film. Sure, this is a PG movie. It would have been different if it was like PG-13 or something. Also, during the backstory scenes, turns out they weren't in the space colony arc like in the games. It was in some underground facility, which, if I remember correctly, is where Sonic and everyone else go into sometime in the movie where they meet Shadow and Gerald Robotnik. In the original lore, Gerald Robotnik made Shadow as part of an experiment to attempt to make a cure for a disease Maria had. But that part of the lore was not added to this movie for some reason and was replaced with the idea that a mysterious asteroid lands on Earth and inside it, a black hedgehog. I wasn't really unfond about these changes. They made it work well, at least. And the chemistry between Shadow and Maria was definitely there. It actually made my heart sink when she was killed by an explosion. Yeah, that was the PG substitute. Anyway, both Robotniks are assumed to be working together to rule humanity, but it turns out that's only Eggman's plan. Gerald wanted to use the Ark to create a blast that can destroy Earth and have him, along with the Ark, destroyed in the process. Eggman thought that was the dumbest plan ever. However, the thing is, both Shadow and Gerald were suicidal maniacs from the start, mainly because of the death of Maria. So it makes sense how this was the final plan. Or at least Gerald was suicidal. I don't know about Shadow. I think Shadow is really just manipulated. Gerald Robotnik never cared about Ivo. He was playing him so he could eventually get revenge on the Earth, specifically Gun, I think. By the way, this was another difference. Gerald was never doing any of this in the game. Eggman was actually trying to destroy the Earth in Sonic Adventure 2 if he couldn't rule humanity. But anyway, this was actually one of the cool differences in the movie's plot. It actually made it feel more dark in a way, especially considering that Shadow was basically willing to have himself killed if it meant seeing Maria again. Yeah, so I like how they portray Gerald Robotnik and Shadow here. I feel like if this movie's runtime were longer, some aspects would have been expanded on more, like the whole thing regarding where Shadow even came from and why he and Sonic look alike. I don't think the games really explain that either though. Either way, I feel like Keanu Reeves and Jim carried this movie. I knew Keanu would have been the best choice for someone like Shadow. The action in this movie was the best I've seen in all of the movies, from beginning to end. We had a Dragon Ball type Goku versus Vegeta-esque battle in the end with Super Sonic and Super Shadow, which I freaking loved. Shadow ended up taunting Sonic, saying what kind of a hero abandons his family to pursue revenge. He thought he cared for them, especially Tom. Sonic has his "don't you dare talk about Krillin" moment and pulls the biggest Detroit Smash all punch and almost kills him.
You pushed the Goku button. You shouldn't have did that.
But then they talk it out. Sonic realizes that he is starting to become like Shadow, and Shadow reflects on his built-up anger over the past 50 years. So after they convince each other that they can set aside their differences and mistakes and save Earth, they both go super and attempt to stop Gerald's arc from destroying Earth, while a cinematic remix of Live and Learn plays in the background. Also, this was the best DAP in history. Eggman successfully destroys Gerald Robotnik, still think this was the funniest death ever, and prevents the destruction of Earth, with the cost of peeing on the moon. The arc starts destabilizing, but Shadow and Eggman sacrifice themselves by keeping the arc's eventual explosion away from Earth. Before that, Dr. Robotnik makes an announcement, no, not that kind of announcement, sorry, saying a heartfelt goodbye to Agent Stone. So yeah, Eggman is supposedly actually dead this time. No, he's not gonna pull a William Afton for the 4th movie unless he comes back as a robot or some AI computer system acting like Dr. Eggman, like he's Dr. Giro's computer from Dragon Ball or something. Jim Carrey did say that he is available, so I mean he could turn up in the 4th movie, I don't know, shoot. At the end of the movie, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles race each other as they did in the beginning of the movie. I kind of wish they added some cinematic riff to the Sonic Heroes opening or some other theme from it. The movie has 2 post-credit scenes, one of which showed that Sonic went way too far from the finish line and ended up in New York, where he is met with Metal Sonic, along with an army of other Metal Sonics. They're all about to jump him, but then a mysterious hammer comes out of nowhere and quickly destroys them all, saving Sonic. And Amy Rose is revealed. The second post-credit scene shows one of the inhibitor rings that Shadow took off, and then it's revealed that Shadow is still alive. He then picks the rings back up and probably puts it back on his wrist. I have a bit of theories about what they could do for the 4th movie just from those 2 post-credit scenes. The whole movie was great in my opinion, and I think this was one of, if not the first video game movie adaptation that got both critics and audiences satisfied on Rotten Tomatoes. I really can't wait to see what they're gonna do for Sonic 4 in 2027. I want to go back and catch up on more of the Sonic games and lore so that I can fully prepare myself for what the 4th movie could potentially deliver for us. Yeah, so you guys are getting a 2-for-1 special video today. I also want to talk about the MUFASA and Sonic box office drama real quick. So unfortunately, MUFASA won the battle globally, but not domestically. The crappy part about it though is, according to Box Office Mojo, about 21 countries have not reported their opening screening results for Sonic 3. And most of those 21 countries have reported their results from their theaters for MUFASA. So either Sonic 3 didn't get its full results yet, or they didn't even bother to give the results back for Sonic 3 in favor of MUFASA. I think people are thinking Disney convinced theaters to not show Sonic 3 so much in favor of MUFASA being the quote-unquote #1 movie in the world at one point, when it was in fact Sonic Movie 3. Not only that, but the Oscars made new rules about qualifying movies according to the Wrap. To be qualified, the movie has to meet certain diversity and inclusion standards, completely ignoring the fact that Sonic Movie 3's cast is pretty diverse. I saw that some other movies couldn't make it, and ones that did make it that I was disappointed about. Honestly though, screw them. The fans loved it, most of the people who watched it loved it, and that's all that matters. The director respects the fans and actually listens to them instead of ignoring them and making these blatant cash grabs. That's how films should be. And now because of that, congrats on this by the way, the Sonic movie franchise has recently crossed over $1 billion. Even Jeff Fowler, the director, came out and thanked everybody, including the Sonic fandom, for making this possible. I don't think you guys see a lot of directors or movie companies show this much appreciation for their audiences. Again, this is really all that matters for audiences. And congrats again on crossing $1 billion in total for the Sonic movie franchise. Also, I heard people talking so much crap about the Mario movie, claiming that the Sonic movies are loads better than the Mario movie, which Yes, as a huge Mario fan, more so of that than a Sonic fan because I grew up with Mario, I would agree. However, I feel like people are hating on it too much. Sonic has had 3 movies. Mario has only had 1. What about the movie from 30 years before? We do not talk about that one. Sonic movie 1 was pretty good, but it got better as the movies went on. The Mario movie could do the same. The same for other video game movies, like the FNAF movie, for example. I'm hoping the second movie will actually be scary, but I'll talk about that in another video. By the way, I was talking with a friend earlier. What if they did a Halloween special where they introduced a live action version of Sonic the Werehog from Sonic Unleashed? That'd be pretty funny. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of the movie. I thought it was one of the best video game movie adaptations ever. Just wait until this gets a digital and Blu-ray release. It will probably go from 204 million in the domestic box office to potentially double that with $400 million. I'm kind of hoping for that, just to shove it in Disney's face more. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, subscribe, like, comment, and share if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.